So you know what we've mentioned previously about the Phenomena Project. We've been filming now for, 18 months?
Oh yeah,
About 18 months, yeah. And we're really not any closer finding out the mechanics of what's actually going on here. Taking in consideration, we're dealing with Don Philips.
Yeah.
He's a catalyst. Right, now that's proven. He is a proven catalyst. We've had people come in, secondary observers, to check, so he can rule me out, and basically, he's providing the evidence. He's getting communication with spirits. This one particular spirit, which he refers to as Becky. This is where it was come to a point where we were questioning the fact is, where, in what direction are we going in? What does Becky want? And what does she want from us? Taking in consideration also that during the investigations that we've done in America, we were told about at least a year ago that we were going to America by Becky. So you could say, okay, she had sort of maybe a pre-planned thing, or she knew of events that were going to unfold even before I did. In fact, my response was, going to America? What for? I'm not going to America. I don't know nothing about it. Which you can imagine, it was a bit of a shock when suddenly something turns up and we're going to America. But we get to America doing this particular case, as you're aware, in Seattle, in a place called Bothell. And we thought, she obviously wants us to help this person because he's having some paranormal things go on at the house. However, as it unfolds into the last day at that location, apparently Don is informed that that really isn't the main reason why we're supposed to be there. We head off to this location. It's a couple of miles away from the house, and it's a spooky old looking tree in the middle of nowhere, next to a graveyard, and also right up next to an old wooden cabin. Now, at that moment in time, we didn't know what that cabin was. Turned out it was actually a mortuary. It wasn't being used anymore, but it was a mortuary. And this is when things started to take a bit of a twist, because by all intents and purposes, I can only consider that what was going on at this particular location was what you might refer to as something like demonic activity. And suddenly, I'm with Don and I'm confused about this. I'm thinking, what's this got to do with the investigation at this house in Seattle? Why we're here? And I'm asking Don these questions. Why are we going suddenly to this place, Don? And all he would say to me is that, well, Becky wants me to go there. I need to go back there. And I said, well, why? I don't know until I get there. And this is what I was getting. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to go along, I'm going to document it and find out what's going on, trying to figure it out. And of course, once we get there, suddenly there's this sudden onslaught. We look and see an instant change in Don from his persona completely changed into frantic, in battle mode, filled with adrenaline, shaking with it, in fact. And it's as if he entered into this battle. And, now we've been getting vocals at the house, spirit vocals. And, and they whispers and they come through, but this was nothing like that. What these were extremely, extremely loud male voices by the sounds of it, shouting and screaming out.
Out of the air?
Oh, well, no, he's recording.
He's recording.
Now Don's talking, and now Don's 20 feet away from me, okay? Now, all I'm hearing is these really loud voices screaming and shouting at him, saying, kneel before us. Beelzebub wants you, we want your power.
Have you heard this, Brian?
Some of it I've heard, yeah. Some of it I've heard.
But you have this recording, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got all the materials there. It's all part of the book. It's all going into the book, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got the recordings, and they're absolutely incredible.
Chills.
Now, at this moment in time, I'm a bit. Hang on a second. This isn't paranormal. This is starting getting into the supernatural side of things. Now, being a parapsychologist, I'm trained in paranormal fields. When it starts getting into the supernatural side, it's kind of one of those things where you start have to taking on belief systems. And basically, it's anything that goes really. And really, it wasn't my comfortable area. So I turned around to Don and say, Don, I'm 20 foot away with a video camera on in middle of the night, early hours of the morning, in fact, it's freezing, and I'm going, oh, this is happening. And suddenly Don's looking over me, and I said to Don, this isn't really my forte, to be honest with you. And I'm thinking, hang on, what we get myself into here, as you can well imagine.
Yeah.
So I'm looking over at Don, and I've got this kind of bit of a worried look on my face, and I'm starting, he's not realising, but I'm actually starting slowly edge back You know, I mean, okay, I'm already 20 foot away, but these voices were so loud I could hear them from here.
But through the player?
Actually, through the player, I could hear him from 20 feet away.
So he records it and plays it straight back?
Yeah, and they're communicating with him, and they're basically saying, we want your power. Beelzebub wants you. You know, kneel before us.
We can levitate you.
We can levitate you.
Well, hold on. You said he went into this kind of his persona changed, right?
Yeah.
So
well, basically, I mean, he's got Becky, who's apparently, from what I can read between what's going on here, is that some battle's taking place between Becky and Don. It's as if Becky is utilising Don to help, rid these demonic entities.
Well, she's using his physical body.
She's using his physical body somehow. And
Don's happy with the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like he's intrinsically knows what to do. So I'm watching.
Hold on, can you just describe? I'm just trying to describe that. So describe that scene you were filming.
There's nobody around.
No, just a little bit.
Yeah,
Show me how.
It's in the early hours of the morning.
Right.
It's freezing cold. Yeah. I look around. There's not a living soul in sight.
I mean, is he sitting, standing? Is he jumping?
He's walked over towards this tree, and there's a lot of outgrowth around the bottom of this tree, a few plants and things. And he's walking around the tree with a recorder in his hand, and he's looking at this tree and saying, "What is it that you want? Come on, I'm here now. What do you want?" And he's pressing record, and then he plays it back, and I'm 20 feet away, and I hear this screaming coming out from his recorder. Now, when he's pressing record, it's dead silent, there's nobody around. As soon as he plays it back, you get this screaming at him, saying, "Kneel before us, Beelzebub wants you," and all these sort of things, and I'm thinking, whoa, what the hell is going on here? And I'm taking into consideration, I'm thinking, whoa, I'm taking a few steps back at this time, because I'm thinking, hang on, we could be under spiritual attack here. I don't know what I've got myself into. Next minute, I hear him talking with Becky, and Becky says, Becky's sort of, I don't know, it would seem that...
For the recorder,
it would seem that he's siding with Becky and they're doing something together. Next minute, Don's sort of got his hands like this, and they're out, and he's like, he's as if like he's forcing some energy at this tree, and honestly, he looks like he was going to, collapse. And in fact, halfway through, he comes over towards, because by this time I'm heading off towards the car. I'm out of there.
See you, Don. Exactly. So Becky, I'm so sorry I couldn't make the date.
Basically, halfway through, he comes over to the car, right, puffing and panting. In fact, he struggled to actually open the door. He's like kneeling down outside as if he's like completely zapped. He gets in the car, he's puffing and panting. And he hasn't resolved it this time. And I'm trying to talk to Don and say, "What's going on, Don? What's going on?" And he's not telling me much. But basically, he's like halfway through the battle.
But does he know?
Well, yeah, because basically what he does is he kind of gathers himself again. He gets out the car, slams the door, because he's pumped with adrenaline again. And off he goes for round 2. So I thought, okay, let's see what else we can get a bit on video. And of course, they're screaming at me again, "We can levitate you. We want your power," and all this. So
are they offering something?
This is it's like come to us. They want him. Now I don't know if they want him to kill himself and go with them in a spiritual sense or what. I just don't know. I've just not got the answers. But they wanted something from him. They want his power.
Right.
Now, what is that?
What are these powers?
Well, I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
what do you think this power is?
Bear in mind that I've known Don, not as part of the project, but I've known Don before the project started. I've known him about 4 years. He first contacted me when I was editing a magazine called Paranormal. And since then I've moved to Steve, and we'll work together very well. But Don approached me, I say 4 years ago. He made some claims. I sent back an email saying, well, big claims need big proof. And he said, well, I've got the proof. And it took off from there. That I've known about Becky for 4 years, so as long as I've known Don, because she's been part of this as much as we have on this side of reality, on her side of reality, she's there. And I've had this from the very word go with Don. How do you know Becky is what she says she is?
Right.
Answer is, he's got to take it and trust. As far as we know, Becky was killed in a car crash along with her 2 children.
Or some type of crash.
Or some type of crash.
Yeah, we're not too sure if it's a plane, train, car, but a crash that took place in 1985?
Around in the 80s anyway, yeah.
He's even indicated the fact that she may have been buried in a location in Birmingham and that her parents are still alive. Because he apparently did ask Becky, should he contact them?
Yeah.
And she said apparently she returned with the message, no, don't contact them, they're old. And it's something that she didn't want to do, but he does devoutly follow
exactly what she says, and this is the problem, because we don't know if she says it's what she says she is. There's no way of proving that she is what she says she is. If it was me, I'd want to see the graves. I'd want to see the graves of the children. I'd want to see the headstones. I'd want information. I'd want evidence.
Yeah.
There's no evidence other than something is communicating with them. We know that, but is it what it says it is? Has it ever even been human? That's the other thing we need to ask. Has it been human at any point? Or is it an inhuman intelligence? Is it an inhuman entity? What is it?
It could be anything, pretending to once have been a person.
So Becky is, how did Don meet Becky? It
was during an investigation that Don was doing in Leicester.
That's right.
And apparently she came to him as a spirit and kind of stuck with him. Now, as things have transitioned on through me working with Don over the last 18 months on Phenomena Project, which is a series based around investigating and utilising Don's capabilities as catalyst and utilising Becky, no matter what she is, utilising her specialities to investigations as well. What he told me was, quite recently actually, was that I kind of had to be within the inner circle for a length of time. And apparently he had a conversation with Becky, and it was agreed that it was now time to be able to tell me. And I thought, well, tell me what? What's going to what I'm going to be told? And apparently he'd asked Becky if it was okay to tell me now, and apparently the answer came back as yes. And I thought, okay, I'm in the inner circle. Did you hear that answer? Yeah, I did. Apparently Don turned around and said to me, and now I can find out, now Becky's given me the go-ahead to tell you that Becky isn't a spirit. She's an angelic being. She's I don't know. Some type of angelic being. And I thought, well, that's interesting, because Don mentioned something some time back, about over 12 months ago. He mentioned of an incident. Now, taking into consideration, every single day he talks with Becky. Okay, she's always there on call, 24/7 for him, no matter where he is, no matter when it happens. And by by normal means, he'd contact Becky one particular day and didn't get the reply. And he was like, this is a little bit unusual. And he tried again, and what happened was a male voice was recorded, and it was I don't know if his name was Jonathan or something like that, or was it, or not? Edward,
that's right. Yeah.
He said, I'm Edward, and he said, well, who are you, Edward? Where are you from? I'm from the graveyard or the cemetery, And he said, Becky's asked me. So he's like, Edward's been appointed because Becky's not there at the minute.
Spokesman,
So it's like Becky's come along and appointed Edward to assist Don while she's not there. So he was a bit upset about this, Don, a bit taken back. It's unusual, he's usually talking with Becky, always has done for many times each day, and suddenly she's not there. He's asking the questions. Well, where is Becky? And all he'd get was, she's had to go. She's had to go somewhere, but he really couldn't get the answer. And eventually, this is maybe a week or two, I'm not too sure, but Don was quite beside himself. He's not used to not hearing from Becky. Anyway, one morning, he said, hello, morning, Edward, sort of thing, and Becky's voice came to him. And the first thing apparently she said was, did you miss me? And he started asking questions then.
Likes flowers, by the way, doesn't she?
She loves flowers.
She loves flowers.
She loves flowers.
He buys flowers for her.
Yeah, and she actually thanks him for them. And you'll hear those recordings, the beautiful, those flowers, and thank you, and things like that. And beyond its purpose, she loves Don. She says, I love you, and she says that to him on a regular basis. But on this particular occasion, when he asked the question where Becky had been, the reply came back and said, I had to go to heaven. Now, I'm thinking to myself, hang on a second.
Yeah.
Right? What did she just say? I had to go to heaven. Well, normally, I know through the practice of spirituality and what has been written down, that spirits don't normally have the transition to heaven and back. what do have the capabilities to transition to heaven and back are angelic beings. I made a note of it. I didn't say nothing to Don. I didn't say nothing to Brian. I didn't actually know you knew, actually.
Yeah.
And I just made a note of it. I thought, interesting. Is Becky a spirit? Question mark, question mark, question mark. And as time's gone on, suddenly she springs this onto me now, quite recently, that she's not what you refer to as the average spirit. She's an angelic being. Then the penny drops. I think, okay, well that ties into the fact is that she has the capabilities to traverse to heaven and back. And hence she would disappear for a length of time and appointed another spirit to help Don.
There's what you've said so far opens up a whole host of questions. Define heaven. What is heaven? The other thing is there appears to be a hierarchy on the other side, which defines what we allowed as human beings, the information we could receive from these beings is carefully monitored. For what reason, I'm not too sure. Maybe they think we're too stupid to handle it, maybe they think we're not capable of handling it, I don't know. But it certainly appears that we're only given as much information as they are willing to give us. It also appears, not just based on what Becky said, but from other sources, that technology is not unknown on the other side. They know perfectly well what's happening on this side.
Absolutely.
They know perfectly well. There was one incident that happened in Bothell where they were setting up night vision cameras on a staircase, and the message that came through was, they're cameras. Another voice says, night vision. Now, if that's not an understanding of technology, then what is? Because it goes much wider than just talking about Becky. Because apart from being a hierarchy on the other side of this reality, you also find out that they need rest, they need sustenance of some kind, they are also able to assimilate technology from this side to their side and put it back again.
Spirit needs rest?
Yes. Yes.
And they feel the cold.
And they feel the cold, yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I mean, Becky said, when asked the question, do you rest? And she said, when I get a chance. And they do apparently feel the cold.
But they don't have a physical body. I mean.
Exactly.
Can I ask a question?
But then, when you mention about that, they don't have a physical body. But if you're dreaming, you can dream that you can feel cold.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly, and that doesn't take a physical sense.
Right.
So
which means she could potentially be referring to rest and feeling cold because she had a memory of being in a physical body.
Yeah, maybe so.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Just an idea.
Well, what are you going to say?
Layman term.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've not been on one of these investigations.
Yeah.
You obviously prepare equipment-wise. Is there any mental preparation?
You have hit on something that is very, very relevant to this. I think that what should happen before any investigation is embarked on, especially with people you don't know, their degree of empathy should be checked out. How empathic are they? Which means how sensitive are they to what's going on in their environment, be it other people, their physical environment, their mental environment. Empathy plays a big part in this, and this is something that's never checked. We check endlessly equipment, bits and pieces, monitor this, monitor that. We don't check the people. We know nothing about the capabilities of the people. We don't.
I mean, I've been caught out on one occasion when one of my guys from SCP came along. His name is Chris Andrews. He's been in the field for 16 or 17 years, probably longer, in the field of paranormal research. He's very well, he's very well known. He's exceptionally good at his job. And I saw him on one particular occasion whilst we went to Tutbury during an episode of Phenomenal Project.
Yeah.
There was some type of interaction took place between Becky and Chris, and I saw Chris go to pieces, to be honest with you. A grown man who's dedicated to the job, a technician in his own right, in regarding equipment, just go to pieces. He was crying, he was shaking.
Was he scared?
He said that it may have been a bit like the experience I had, because what had happened was, Don asked Becky, because apparently Don said that there was a portal opening. Now I know it's a terminology portal, and I don't know really what that represents when we talk about energies and portals, but Don is clearly clairsentient. In other words, he picks up on feelings of spiritual phenomena.
And he's within the area.
Yeah. And he's clearly clairaudient. In other words, he can hear spirits, because there's been many occasions when he stopped in his tracks, looked at me and said, "Can you hear that?"
But why is he using the recorder then?
I know, because sometimes he doesn't require it, because he doesn't realise if what he's hearing is in the normal hearing range and everybody's hearing it, but it's just him. Because he's being clairaudient, it's hard to work out. But many times he stopped and said, Steve, can you hear that? I'm listening, and it's deadly silent. I said, no, I can't hear anything. He said, well, I can hear two women talking about a dress. I said, well, press your recorder and record. And he presses recorder, 10 seconds, plays back, and you've got two women talking about a dress. One woman talking to somebody else, another woman, saying, I've seen a lovely dress. And it's exactly what he's already told me prior to recording. So he is hearing these things sometimes. So he's not only clairsentient, he's clairaudient. But the problematics of this is that, like you said, when you're going on an investigation, sometimes people can be adversely affected in some way. Now, I saw Chris go to pieces because I don't know what happened, but Becky had some interaction with Chris. Don was asked, saying that I can feel this portal, and he says to Becky, with his finger ready, paused on the record button of his recorder, Becky, if there's a portal, can you just say portal, please? If there's a portal opening. And just prior to him pressing record, Chris is stood there next to me with a parabolic microphone and the earphones on. Suddenly, he flings these earphones off his ears. And he looks to me and he's like puffing and panting, like, and I said, what? He said, I've just heard Becky. I said, what do you mean you've just heard Becky? And he's starting to fill up and he's shaking. And I said, you're all right? And he said, oh God, he's like, oh, and he's like blabbering and blubbering. He couldn't get his words out. But he explained, and he explained it on camera and to Don and the rest of us, that he had some type of experience where not only did he hear Becky directly communicate with him by saying portal, but as if like she passed through him, or he felt this strange energy or whatever, and it just crippled him up, for a good 10 or 15 minutes.
Crippled? Well,
he was just like, oh God, I don't know what to do. He was just like, I can't, can't function, I can't talk, and he was pretty much a bit of a wreck, to be honest with you.
The emotion, I don't know what's going on there, but the emotion, I can feel the tears in my eyes, the emotion, and I heard, and it wasn't just portal, it wasn't just the word, it was emotion, everything that came with it.
Communicate with him by saying portal, but as if like she passed through him, or he felt this strange energy or whatever, and it just crippled him up, for a good 10 or 15 minutes.
Crippled?
He was just like, oh God, I don't know what to do. He was just like, I can't, can't function, I can't talk. He was pretty much a bit of a wreck, to be honest with you. And he said it on camera, we've got those pieces of footage, that in his years of working in the field of paranormal research, he's never ever experienced anything like that.
But do you think it's quite normal for spirit to actually make you feel that uncomfortable?
I don't know if it is an uncomfortable thing. It's certainly
to be shaken by.
Absolutely shaken by.
It's an emotional thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
overwhelming.
An overwhelming.
Nice.
Yeah, but it can literally, sort of tie you up. And that's the only way I can express how I feel.
I'm just thinking that if spirit, ethical and understands the such experiences can have effect on the human being who is not fully consciously open, would you really make that communication or go through them in order to give them that experience then?
Well, that's it. I know, and this is why we always ask the question, what is it that we are experiencing? And if Becky is responsible for giving you these, these bouts of serious emotion, these feelings, I don't know what is happening, if she's passing through us or she's causing something.
What happened to this guy now? He's no longer into paranormal? Or?
Oh no, he's still into the field of the paranormal. He's not come on any further investigations with us.
Is that it?
But he's still doing what he's doing. But for him, his life's changed somewhat because he's had that experience.
So he believes more?
For months on end after that. His aspect of what it all consists of, and spiritual communication considerably changed, just as mine did. I've been in the field for 31 years prior to meeting Don. I thought I'd seen it all, pretty much. And then all of a sudden, I meet up with this guy, And I think to myself, I mean, the first time he contacted me, I turned him down twice because I thought he was a bit of a quirky guy. He was he's got the talk and all that, but he can't show the goods. I don't believe all this footage you can see on the internet could be hoax, as far as I'm concerned. And I turned him down twice when he asked me to say. I mean, basically, what really got me involved was the fact there was one comment he said. I said to Don, look, if I get involved with you, Don, and I find anything hokey going on, I'm not the sort of guy you want to get involved with, because I will discredit. I would. You know me.
Yeah,
I'd say it as it is. I would discredit him. I'd say, look, Don Phillips, I put it up on the internet, and Don Phillips got me here, and he's faking stuff, and I would have let people know. So his credibility wouldn't have lasted very long. So I told him, I said, I'm the last guy you want, Don. And it was a comment such as, well, you're exactly the guy I need. What got me intrigued, because I thought, why is this guy so pushing it so much? He must have something, And of course, I went down there, and I said to my colleague on the way down to meet him for the first time, I said, don't get comfortable, we'll only be here an hour. Because I thought, fine, rational explanation, 10 hours, or maybe even on to more like 15 hours there. It was ridiculous. I was just hit constantly, bang, bang, bang. First thing I got, straight away recording, hi Steve, from Becky.
You hear the voice of a female.
Yeah, and it's personalised. It's got my name in it. I'm thinking, what's going on? So I gave Don my recorder. So let's just get rid of his recordings. It could be messed about with, doctored, scrap that.
RF.
Here's my recorder. It's test proven. It's bench tested. We know it works well. Try that. There's nothing on it. It's completely formatted. Psh, hi Steve again. Well, I realised, okay, it's not the equipment. Something's going on here. So I thought, okay, it's the environment. There's got to be something in the environment, wiring, something interfering with the equipment, causing it to have some type of interaction. Someone somewhere has got to be saying something, and I'm getting it onto this recording. So I take him outside. There can't be any hidden wires around and stuff like that, and bang, get it again. And I'm thinking, hang on a second, it's not the equipment, it's not the environment, it's got to be done.
And what's like again? She said something again?
Absolutely.
Like what?
Well, I basically, just nice to see you. I mean, Becky will actually communicate in a direct way, so that she'll put things in which means reference to you.
Right.
So it's not just a random thing.
And this is on digital recorders, not...
Digital.
It's digital recorders.
And what about if you do on like a tape recorder? Would it be the same?
I've got a tape recorder.
Yeah, so
And the idea is to try it on the old magnetic tapes. But let's just say what tests we have done to eliminate the process of how these particular
Faraday
pieces devices.
They put them in Faraday cages, all sorts.
Yeah, I mean, what we've done is we got 3 or 4 layers of aluminium foil.
Yeah.
We wrap that device up. 4 layers of
in the
aluminium
kitchen foil thing.
Yeah.
Basically, because it makes a wonderful way.
Tin helmet,
like a bit like a Faraday cage. It cuts down the possibility of picking transients up. Wrapped it up 4 layers. Don't put it on a table, and managed to press record through it, and left it for a few minutes. Stopped it. Unwrapped it, press play, you've got vocal responses on there. Sometimes to the questions that we've asked. Asking questions and getting responses. We're thinking, well, hang on a second, I don't think this is a transient, because how's it getting through? Take it one step. Faraday cage, okay, with layers of sheets around it, still did it. We wrapped it up with layers of sheets of aluminium and put it under in a sealed container and under 2 feet of water in a sink. And still got the recordings, because I tell you what's happening, the recordings are actually in there with it.
Yeah.
And I can prove
it's sealed, right? So
it's actually it's sealed. It's sealed. Not only has it got foil over it, but it's sealed inside a tub, an airtight tub, and a brick on top, and it's under 2 feet of water in a sink.
And and then you had a recording again.
Yeah, but it sounds like the voice on the recording is in that sealed plastic tub with it.
Like contained.
Yeah, so what we've done is...
What do you say? The reverberance of the envelope?
Yeah, absolutely. But, so we went all one step, and we started using glass domes. So we thought, okay, we'll get the recorder and we'll put it under a glass dome and we'll ask some questions and press record.
It's like a torture.
Honestly, when you press play back on these devices, the voices sounds like that because it's in the dome with the device.
So which means spirit kind of gets...
The spirit is in the dome with the device, talking on the device.
Wow.
See, what Steve's talking about here, it's not just the phenomena of the voice being recorded. It's not the actuality of Becky existing. It's what goes with it. It's the big picture you have to look at. Because what you start finding then is, if she was once one of us, or if we, when we die, pass to the other side, we then find out that not everybody makes it to the other side.
Apparently so. Apparently we've been told.
There was our friend in the corner had a question earlier when Alan.
Yeah, Alan.
Were you going to say something?
I was just going to ask, or pose the question.
Yeah.
When you were talking about the portal, thought came into my mind that Don actually is the portal.
Well, you know, it's
Well-
not we have talked and considered this, you know, that he somehow is the conduit,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, between what goes on in our existence and the spirit plane. Because it would seem that we can go into haunted locations. And, you know, on average, I'm used to it. After doing 33 years in the field, I'm used to knowing the level of things to experience in an average haunted building. It doesn't kick off. You have to spend a considerable length of time there to get the odd thing now and again. And that's what constitutes the average haunting. However, you go into a location with Don, all hell breaks loose. It would seem that
Sometimes
it would
listen,
seem anything that's going on in that building is suddenly gone zoom.
But why you have to go to the location? Why is it not? It's
Oh
only
no! Don't get me wrong. They follow
It
him
happened in
around.
his house.
They take
Just
him.
at his house.
So he can. What's Don's average day look like? He comes from work, for example, and what the spirits are just chatting.
Well, basically, they go back home with him.
They come with him.
They go with him.
They went from Bothell in the Seattle. He took them home with him.
He took a load of them back with him.
Yeah.
I mean,
But what does it
that-
do with them? I mean, seriously.
Well, they hang around
Just
because for
mess
them,
it up.
I guess, for
I'm not being
spirits.
sarcastic. I'm just
No,
out
I
of
really
interest.
appreciate
For
that,
spirits, I think it's a great opportunity. They'll probably want to because this is a method that they can have to be able to communicate to our side. That might be an attraction.
But
You
hold
might
on, so
say,
if they came all the way from Boston, they got on the flight with him?
They don't have to.
you don't have to. And that was proven because I heard Becky come out of the air at 38,000 feet, right between myself and Don, and we were both sat very close together. And right here, bang, yeah, as loud as day, it's Becky. As loud as that. I looked at Don immediately, he looked at me, and he went, "Did you hear that?" And I went, "Yeah, I did. It was that loud. It's Becky. Right here, between the pair
What's
of
the
us."
accent?
It's a beautiful voice.
I wish we could hear it.
It's mellow, female,
Be careful what you wish for.
beautiful. You know,
Oh,
you know. But
yeah.
like
No,
I say,
Yeah.
it is a heavenly voice. It really is. You know, it really goes right through you when you hear it. That was at 38,000 feet, and I think she did that because me and Don were in a conversation earlier before we got on the plane, and asking the question. I think I posed the question to Don. Hey, I wonder if Becky can communicate to you on the plane at so at altitude.
Yeah.
Can spirits do that? You know, I mean, how does it work? And of course, bang, there it is. It was delivered to us right on the plane at 38,500 feet.
It's almost as if Don is acting as a locus for this entity. It is following his marker, no matter where he goes, up, down, sideways.
So it's
it's
that he's
following
spirit
him.
guide, but you said she might be like a.
Well,
higher
I
guide.
suppose it's a spirit guide, really.
In a
Is that
sense,
spirit
it is
guide?
very similar to, yeah. And what is interesting is that Becky doesn't actually have to be with him to have that open channel of communication. This is where our physics kind of goes and kind of goes out the window, because how this pretty much works is Don can say, "Hi Becky, are you there?" and play back his recording, and Becky will say, "Yes, I'm here." You know, in some cases he's communicating with Becky immediately and she's not there because they'll ask her, "Where are you, Becky?" And Becky will reply, "I'm with Heather." Now Heather is Don's daughter, doesn't even live with Don, she lives in another house some miles away. So in fact Becky may have been with Heather but has this open communication. As soon as Don, he knows as well, because he said to me, as soon as I reach, even before I've reached for the recorder, as soon as I reach I know she's there, because I have this feeling, this sensation.
It's
Oh,
probably-
Becky's there. That's even before he's laid his hand on his recorder.
And why Becky's with Heather?
Does Becky ever let you know that either of you have guides?
Never asked her.
Never asked her. Never asked her. It's always been a situation. What we've got with Don is that we want to ask a lot of questions, but don't know if we should.
Yes.
And do we deserve the answers? And that's how I consider it now. It's like, do we deserve the answers? I believe we do deserve the answers, because it's the only way we
Deserve
know.
it. So I think it's a right to know.
Yeah,
right?
because I believe she wants something from me, maybe from Brian. There's a reason why everything seems to happen the way it has.
It has happened.
It absolutely,
Yeah,
100% is all interconnected.
And
There's been a
essentially,
plan, right from, I don't know how long this goes back. It
Yeah.
could go right back to the day Becky met met Don so years ago. But there's been a plan in action to bring Brian into this and to bring me into this and to create the project.
Yeah.
There's something at the end. There's a result at the end that Becky wants. Now, what she has said to Don is that the spirits want recognition. Now, if that is the case, they've had plenty of opportunity in the past to do this through other experiments that have taken place worldwide. Yeah, there've been plenty of opportunities to say, get it out there, we're real, and this is the way the world is. For it to happen again now, it feels to me that there's got to be more than that. Because that's happened loads of times before, even with the skull experiment. And now, for me, trying to carry on from where the skull experiments stopped, and we're trying to pick it up and see how far can we go with it. How much communication and physical interaction can we have with the spirit side? But what truly do they want? I do not know.
The strange thing about the skull experiment, which Steve just mentioned, it was shut down not on the behalf of the people who were conducting the experiment. It was shut down because the spirit team they were working with said, stop this. You've got to stop it, and you've got to stop it now. Because apparently it was getting too involved.
Getting dangerous.
It was getting dangerous for them, and it was getting dangerous from the other side because
for the sitters,
and for the spirit who was the spirits in contact with them. Because, as I said, there are hierarchies in the spirit world. There are also spirit worlds beside the spirit world and beside the spirit world. This was proven during the skull experiment when there was an entity they took photographs of using 35mm just slide film, I might add, and sealed film, and these images appeared in the slide films. One of them was an entity they called Blue. They called him Blue because there was a blue wash over the colour film. This entity Blue was a grey alien, was what it was.
Yeah, it was a stereotypical grey alien face with the big black eyes.
Yeah, that's what it was. Now, these are one of the watershed moments that occur when you're into this subject and you see this thing and you go, oh my God, Jesus, look at this. This is a grey. What does this mean? What are the implications of this? And this is why, as I say it time and time again, a lot of people don't like it. For me, there is no difference between ufology and the paranormal.
No, we could be dealing with the same issues.
It's the same issue.
It could be, because to transcend and communicate in the spiritual sense with spirits, should we say, be it by channeling or what other method, the same method applies to ET channeling.
That's right.
It says there are different consciousnesses, and those consciousnesses could be extraterrestrial, or spiritual, or even something else, angelic.
But you said the spirit wants recognition, right? Who from?
Apparently Becky said the spirits, the guys, I don't know if she means her close vicinity of friends that she's aware of, want recognition. They want to know, they want the information out in the world that they are real, and that there is a spirit realm, and that they are not dead. They don't consider themselves dead. They still consider themselves alive, and that it's just a transition, and want the world to realise that. A wake-up call, in other words, a shake-up to say, hey guys, this is the truth, and this is what's really happening.
The problem
and trying to provide evidence to support it.
The problem is the information they're giving us about themselves is limited.
It is limited, but it's also interesting. The fact is that some of the information that we've got, when he said not everybody makes it. I wrote up a small document, and I just, without thinking, I just put it out on the internet. And I was contacted one day by a priest, a Catholic priest, people, and he started asking me questions about where did I get this information from. And I was quite honest with him. I said, well, I'm a paranormal researcher, and this is some of the information I've apparently obtained from the spirits. And his reply was, this information shouldn't be out there to the public. It shouldn't be out there. Now that started me thinking, hang on a second, does the Catholic Church know something I don't know? Do they know something? And I don't want it out there. And then I started thinking, hang on a second, if they don't want it out there, what is the reason for it? Well, I mean, if you think about it, if we all had certainties that we don't have to worry about this life, whatever happens, because we've got another one, you can imagine that control. I mean, we have issues like that with terrorist bombers, don't we? They don't have a problem about doing the horrific things they do, because they feel like they're going to go, this life is worthless, because they're going to go to a better place. They're so adamant that they do, they believe it so much and passionately, that they don't give any credence to this life. No. Can you imagine a whole society like that? What would society be like if we had to get up in the morning and never worry about a thing about,
That's right.
it doesn't matter if I die today?
Yeah.
How is our life interfered with? We affect our own lives. We take cautions subconsciously every single day when we're crossing the road.
Of course we do.
You know, when we go into a shop and talk to somebody, when we see a stranger on the corner of the street, you know, we naturally have this intrinsic safety mechanism in us of protection because we fear death. But if we didn't have that, whole life would change. Does the Catholic Church know that, yes, it is an absolute fact that there's an afterlife and we go on to it? But they don't want all that information out because there's certain control factors involved.
But what does it mean? We don't all make it.
Yeah, this is
Well, you do
you
tend to get cryptic answers.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's very hard to get the actual full information out.
Yeah.
You'll ask a
Yeah.
question and you might just get a yes or no response and you're thinking, well, that leads me to the next question.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what. And when we ask the question, you know, do we all transition to heaven, you know, to the other side? And the reply was, for those that make it.
Now, yeah, I know exactly what you've said, because if we don't all make it, why don't we not all make it? And
Where
what
did it
happens-
go?
and what do you do if you don't? Do you become a ghost? In other words, are you an earthbound spirit that can't leave this reality? What
Yeah,
happens?
because
Why?
well, if you are,
One
you have to
question.
reincarnate again another if you have
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Why not?
Exactly. But
Why not?
one
But what
question
is-
leads to another all the time.
And then you never get the answers. Well, maybe because one answer triggers another answer.
Well, I think in some cases, I mean, there has been questions asked, and we have really pressed it sometimes, you know, about certain questions and the process of death and all sorts of things, because we intrinsically want to know. I mean, to be honest with you, you know, for years and years and years, I would have said, if somebody said to me, you know, oh, you can ask 10 questions, I would have, oh, yeah, no problem. Would have just drawn out 10 questions straight away. But the seriousness of this is that eventually, when I realised one particular day that I can actually, at this moment in time, ask 10 questions and possibly get 10 answers, for the sake of it, I just didn't know what to ask.
Yeah.
Because really, for the very first time, and I thought so, but really at that moment in time, I actually thought I could get the answer here. Am I going to deal with it? You know, what is that answer going to be, and how well will I sit with that answer?
Yeah.
You know, is my belief system going to be turned upside down? And you know, and I started to think, do I really want to ask the question?
Yeah.
You know, but we have pressed on some questions, but sometimes they just won't give us the
They
answer.
won't give you the answer
In fact,
at
they'll
all.
totally ignore you
Yeah.
sometimes.
You don't get a response at all on the recording.
No, this is like they're not allowed to tell you. But like I said, like
no, that is you have to work it out yourself.
well,
No,
me-
I don't think it's that, because
I think there is a control, because on some occasions when we have pressed it, we have something that's happened where the equipment has been adversely affected by very, very strong interference of language, and it's something completely different than spiritual communication. And these are what we have referred to as lightertons,
the lightertons,
the
yeah.
beings of light. And when Don asked about who are the lightertons, Becky, her reply was they see and hear everything.
And so
So they're like a governance. They're like
Yeah.
even over Becky.
over Becky,
Yeah.
over the whole thing.
Yeah.
They hear and see everything, and they're monitoring everything. And if they don't like something, or it's getting a bit out of hand, or they think that certain answers might be given what we don't deserve, they'll probably intervene.
Yeah, well, I kind of
and
think
bring
you
that to
deserve.
them.
You don't have to prove yourself, right? To spirit.
Well,
that you
how
really
are we supposed to get? What's the reasons why we don't?
Spirit's
get the
supposed to
answers?
guide you there, so you can actually find that in the wisdom within yourself.
Yeah, but don't forget here,
No, you know.
spirits are not all creatures of light. They have an agenda.
Yeah,
They
well,
have
that's
it-
what
yeah.
you were saying.
Yeah.
If I mean, the fact that you're questioning if I deserve the answer, you're already diminishing your spiritual wealth of who you are.
I
Just
want
because
the
you
answer.
have, yeah.
You know,
But why are you doubting that whether you deserve the answer? Whether
Well,
pursuing
in some cases, it seems like in some cases something comes in
yeah.
of another force and takes control of the situation and stops all communication.
But do you think it's normal if you have a light with a light being like, for example, Becky, as you say, if she's an angel, to have another force of a dark force come?
Well,
for
I take
example,
into
coming in?
consideration I had to be working with Don almost for 18 months for me to be accepted to know that even Becky was apparently an angelic being, because I thought she was a spirit, and I'm led now to believe that Don told us that Becky was a spirit and may have been, you know, buried in a graveyard in Birmingham and was involved in a crash and had 2 children with her. But the fact of the matter is that really the case? Because it's mixed now, because now we've been told that Becky is in fact an angelic being How could she have been married,
That's right.
been an earth-plane person, and with 2 children as well? Now, Becky said...
But maybe that's why when she went, she said, I have to go away to heaven. Maybe she was graduating into her ascension.
Don,
for example.
Yeah, possible.
Yeah.
Possible. Yeah.
Don has said that it is possible for spirit to become angelic. Now, Don, he asked about this, and he told me that it is not angels just don't have to be created as bang angels. You're that's an angel, not that's just created.
You can transition.
Angels can transition from the human. The human can transition to angel, according to what I said. Now, this is where it gets very confusing, because your mind starts giving you mixed messages. You see angels, these things that flap about with wings, purely the creation of the church. They're nothing to do with wings. They just don't have wings because they're not. This is anthropomorphified. This is the humanizing, if you want. The humanizing of these entities to make them more acceptable to what human beings think an angel should like. Long blonde hair. It's like the Nordics, if you follow it. Long blonde hair, almost angelic in appearance, and the flap about. That's how they get up and down to heaven. Not like that. They're beings of spirit, pure spirit. That's what they are. Now, they are the antithesis of what's down below. They're up above, So, in other words, you get entities that profess to be demonic. Now, human beings can devolve into demonic as well, as far as I can make out, as they can evolve into the angelic. So we can go both ways here. Perhaps the ones that don't make it, the human beings that don't make it to the other side,
maybe.
Go
I don't know.
to the
it's a
other
very
side,
cryptic answer.
Yeah.
And it's left us with 1,001 more questions. That's what it does. And it often happens that way.
Yeah.
But it was seen when we press for information. And don't get me wrong, there is, like you mentioned before about this Akashic records. Yeah. They can tap into any source of information at a snap.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, just an example, I asked Becky, whilst in my kitchen, of all places, just out of a bit of a fun, just a bit of fun, I said, Becky, what goes on at Area 51, places like that? And her reply was, they experiment on aliens. And I was taken back by that, because I thought, how does she even know what Area 51 is?
Yeah.
She's spirit.
So do you know everything? There's this pool of consciousness.
Well, I mean, if you were fully conscious, if you were fully conscious of your, like fully awakened, so to speak, you would have, you would know.
So if that's the case, then you could ask any
question about anything.
Well, I think maybe because you're asking wrong questions from Becky, that's why you're not getting the answers.
Well,
maybe she's trying to teach you to get you.
We've tried to press for questions. But
when you say press, you're like saying, Becky, tell us.
No, we're asking, and then we keep asking.
And she's not giving the answer.
And she's not giving the
answer. Are these questions essential for the project or for the next? Because I think there's a difference between curiosity of her identity or where you're taking the project. And maybe that's why...
Well, it was twofold at one time, because we thought initially she was a spirit.
Yeah.
And of a spirit of a person who once passed away and with her 2 children. And if that is the case, then there'd be a footprint of her life when she was here on Earth. Some research information which is evidence to that it was this person.
It has to be.
That's what I thought, but now I don't know, because if she is an angelic being, what does that mean? Does that mean
can she be the angelic being who had a multiple reincarnation? So it could be part of her consciousness in that woman that was Becky.
Yeah, or maybe a transition from spirit to angelic, like you were saying earlier. But it becomes very problematic.
It becomes very complex, and in fact, it's like the Gordian knot. You can never untie this. You can never untie this knot, because
how you haven't got a clear picture. That's the problem.
No, but the problem is how will we ever know that the information what we're being given is truthful? I mean, don't take that the wrong way, because what I am saying is, since over the last 18 months, and I'm honoured that Becky has actually communicated to me directly to me, direct voice phenomena through the air, as if she was just stood there.
And that's only when Don's next to you.
It's happened on 3 occasions.
With Don being close to you.
But Don has been in the vicinity. Yeah.
So what would happen if we just hear a voice? You should say, "Hello, boys, how you doing?"
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. It'd be fantastic.
So can I reverse a little bit?
Yeah.
A little while back, just before I met you, Vitaly said to me, "Now these guys, they're really interested in you coming on. Forgive me for this."
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But you have to
is
be
it-
prepared.
But, Steve's a little concerned whether you'll be able to take it or whether.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You
Well,
did
well,
ask that.
yeah.
Can I-
Yeah.
let me
Because
ask
after you told me that guy.
There's a follow-up question. Listening to the courses that you're putting together, and I think that's correct. And I find myself putting myself in that situation. Okay, I see that Don's got Becky, and you've got your experience. Now, if I was there, I have a bloody microphone and a packed lunch. What's going to protect me?
Yeah.
Well, don't get me wrong, when you're involved in the paranormal, at any moment in time you can have supernatural, spiritual type phenomena come in.
You do?
And that can happen. That is always a possibility, but then it always has been a possibility, no matter if you're aware of it or not. Just because you've got spirits there saying there's some evil stuff gone or a demon around, you would never have known anyway if you'd never been told. So we may transition through life having close encounters with that and never be the wiser, to be honest.
Yeah.
But because we're in a situation where we can be told from the spirits what's going on in that environment, and if there's something a little bit not too nice in there, then at least we're actually being told of what's going on. Yeah, you can do. But for me, I don't sit there doing all this preparation of.
But so you just kind of jump
I just jump in there
and don't cross the beams.
No, I don't. Exactly, I don't cross the beams. Don't cross the beams.
Yeah.
No, but basically, because for me, I want to experience it from a neutral point, without belief in religion is going to protect me from anything, without belief that even that demonic forces are going to do something bad with me. I don't have that belief system. I go in there completely neutral,
So
because
therefore
whatever I
you're
experience, and I have to work out that.
See, I
for
think
me.
that's an important point of how you set your mind before
Right in the
before-
middle.
Yeah, before you go in.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I could easily swing in a certain direction and say some of the experiences I've had are definitely religious connotation, but then I can also swing definitely, absolutely 100% to the other side, and say some of those experiences have definitely been demonic, in nature. There are good as there is bad, but then there is when you could be walking down a crowded street and you could have bad people and good people. It's no different in life than it is in a spiritual existence, I don't think. But you can immerse yourself in locations, and because you're actually in places where there is heightened activity, then there's always that opportunity, and you're experiencing something like that. For me, though, I mean, I've been, I don't have to. I've only had maybe a couple of bad experiences in 33 years, but I'm still here. I'm still driving to try and find the answers. But for me, it's about going in there neutral without any belief system, because whatever I experience, I have to kind of work out then what does that mean and what was it, that happened, and I kind of keep neutral. But some people don't. Some people believe that they need all this spiritual protection going into places. But if you believe in it, and I think it's a power of belief that helps the situation. But you've got to strongly believe in that. For me, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to go in there and witness whatever happens. Because for me, I'm going in there very analytical, like a scientist. I'm just going to document everything that's going on, good, bad, or whatever, and try and work out what's it all mean at the end of it.
So if you had somebody in the party which was a non-believer and a fairly kind of negative view on the whole thing, and it was kind of pessimistic, would that affect the...
It might do.
It may do.
Might do.
It may do. But, but it's a learning process, because we are learning through that. I mean, we know that there are certain active locations, that seem to kick up every time we go in there. And if we were to go in that location, suddenly nothing would happen. Then we'd start questioning the fancies. What's significantly different? Yeah. Maybe we do influence our own environment, but we're just unaware of it. Why should some people come in to this building, for an example, and some people will say, yes, there's a spiritual presence.
Brian's bought the bloody freezer.
Yeah, exactly, because when it would seem...
It's not as cold now.
No, but what's happened is that, and we've done this many a time, when we've been discussing the field of the
By
paranormal.
the second. Getting colder. It's happening now.
Because when we talk
It's happening right now.
It's happening
when
right
we
now.
talk about things like this,
Is it
the
getting cold?
guys...
I'm cold right down my left hand side from the top of my head to the foot of my toe.
Yeah, it's bloody freezing.
Yeah.
It's
So
coming.
does that mean? So what is this? What
let-
is the
they-
environment is changing?
It's here now. It's coming here now.
Because I believe when we're talking about things like this, they're attracted. Oh, they're talking about us. You know what's going on.
But okay, so who's they hearing, or are we changing the environment because
No,
our
I believe that what's happening is probably that we have certain things taking place in the environment which are attracted to the conversation that
Yeah.
we're
Like right
having.
now.
Yeah.
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 It's like you were saying that Becky can hear our conversation,
Absolutely.
and Don can call you in a minute and say,
He
"By the
could
way,
do.
guy."
I mean, there's been times when I've tried to put this to the test and I said, well, okay, well, look at the telephone test.
Yeah,
I sat in
yeah,
my bedroom
yeah,
one
yeah,
night, Don rings me and said to I just said out of curiosity, you know, I wasn't really getting into anything, it was late at night. I said, Don, can Becky see things remotely? And he went, oh, I don't know. I tell you what, let's put it to the test. I said, all right, what do you want to do? He said, well, Steve, where are you? I said, my upstairs bedroom, you know, sat on the bed. He said, well, go in a drawer and grab something and hold it up in the air, you know, and swing it round and I'll ask Becky what you've got. Interesting. I'm on the phone and I'm listening. Okay, all right. So I'll go into my top drawer and I grab something and I've got it held up in my arm and I'm going like this. Yeah, and I can hear Don on the phone saying, getting his recorder and saying, Becky, Stu's holding up something up in his hand. Can you tell me what it is? Presses record, and I can hear some type of vocal response come back. And Don pauses, goes on the phone to me and says, Steve, I've just got, I think what Becky's saying to me is she's saying it's a pendulum. And what I had in my hand was my pocket watch, a round pocket watch on a chain, going backwards and forwards. Now, she could have, at the same point, that's a hit for me. You know, as far as I'm concerned.
That's pretty close, pretty damn
You know,
close.
she can tell Don what's going on in my house at any public given time.
Right, but that's only because you asked. But,
Yeah.
but she cannot infringe on you like a, you know.
Oh no,
Checking
no,
on you.
Don.
No.
Don actually has requested Becky to go to places and then spy for
Yeah.
me. You know, he had a couple of, honestly, he had
God, don't go to the
he
loo
had
now, I don't want to go.
Yeah. But there has been times when Don's freely admitted that people he's worked with in the past, and he's sent Becky off to find out what they're talking about, and she's come back and relayed information to him,
But
which
do you
is
think
incorrect.
is it ethical?
No, I don't.
Whether it's ethical
I think,
or not, it's
I
beside the
don't.
point. It's
I
just-
don't
it's
know
interesting.
if
Would you
it
do
is or
it?
not. You know.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
but would
I
Spirit
don't
do that
know.
if someone
Don't-
is?
I think I might.
Don't
She has a
forget-
very close connection.
No, but
with
if
Don.
it's an angelic being, you would say, actually, Don, this is not the way it's done. I wouldn't
Well,
do
look,
it.
maybe they get a sense of humour, but hang on. The implications of that, again, are absolutely immense, because if he can send her anywhere to find out what's happening, what are the security implications?
This
of
is
that?
it, and I have warned Don about this.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because
And-
I told
and
her to be very careful about the information he puts about on the internet. Because, you know, what sort of attribute would you be for remote viewing
Yeah, yeah.
or
But, yeah.
for the military?
But
for
if
instance?
Becky-
you could go say, well, you know, where's Osama bin Laden? You know, and he could
No,
have just
seriously, but if
that
Becky
thing,
is,
you know?
is an angelic being, why would she listen to Don being sent somewhere and to do something that she thinks she knows there's going to be a lot of implications?
Well, this is a good
It's just
question.
That's an excellent. That's an
No,
excellent.
and I'm not being disrespectful
Yeah.
to the project or to
Yeah,
Don
yeah.
or to
No,
Sh-
no, you're not.
But
No, you're
out
not.
of curiosity, because if the spirits are doing this kind of thing, then the same question you said earlier, who are these beings? Why not we
That's
getting the
it.
answer?
The question is cyclic. It comes back again. How do we know that Becky is what she says she is? We don't.
She seems to be very protective of Don
Yeah.
and looks out for him. So anything that somebody might be saying derogative about him, she will probably report back on that if he asked her the question. You know, what they would, you know, if he knows, like, we were having this conversation, he may be asking Becky to come and have a listen. She may be listening, you know.
could-
Well,
because
sometimes
we're
she does.
talking about
Sometimes
it,
she
she may
doesn't
be.
freely give that,
That might be what I
information. You
felt.
have to ask the question. You know, but one thing is for sure is that we are still, even now, 18 months on, if not a little bit more, with just as many, if not more,
Questions than before, yeah.
than we even had to begin with, as to who is Becky, what does she want from me, what does she want from Brian, what are we supposed to achieve, what's so special? You know, why did we have to go all the way to America to do this paranormal investigation at this house, which we assumed was the most significant thing whilst we were there, and it wasn't. It turned out that we had to go and battle some demonic forces at some tree 2 miles away from this house, and that's the whole purpose why we went.
And you were just there with the camera. I mean, you didn't even do the battle.
Yeah.
No.
But she didn't tell you what the agenda was until you got there.
No.
Is that not a little
And
bit
even
deceptive?
then,
Well,
even
it
then,
is.
she didn't say what the
It does
agenda
seem
was.
deceptive. I
Or,
have to
or may you
admit.
not have gone if you knew.
Maybe, I don't know. But what's really interesting is that we were told we were going at least 12 months prior to it happening. So was it a planned event? Can they see into the future, or did
Were
it
you
change?
told? Were you there? Did you hear it as saying you're going to be going to the US, or you were told by Don or whoever? How did you know?
Becky replied on a message, we were going to America.
You heard it.
Yeah, and I
You
said
asked it. You were there to ask the question,
yeah,
and you
I've
had the
heard
answer.
the responses, and I said, I'm not. Why are we going to America? I've no plans to go to America. And he said we kind of just shrugged our shoulders. 12 months down the road, we're off to America to do the most controversial paranormal case that's ever hit in America. And then, thinking that was the most significant thing, turns out that wasn't even the reason why we were there. The reason why we were there was apparently to battle demonic forces at this tree 2 miles away from that. Just coincidentally, by the way, 2 miles away or so from that house in Bothell, in Seattle.
We had a Skype call, myself, Don and Steve. And during that Skype call, I asked Don some questions. And he asked Becky to say, is this that correct? If it's correct, say correct. And I heard over the Skype, is this correct? And I heard back with, correct. I heard this come back
that
with
happens regularly.
Now, the other thing was, I asked a couple of questions relating to what had been going on. Because to me, what this sounded like, in those days there were giants upon the face of the land. They seemed to be talking about the Nephilim and all the rest of it that went with that. Is this correct? Asked Becky, is this correct? On the right lines.
Yeah, so that's very cryptic again.
Yeah,
You
on
don't
the
get
right
straight
lines.
answers
No.
on the right lines.
Okay, so any of the answers that she said correct or on the right lines, whatever.
Yeah.
Did you pursue? I mean, were you just settled at the answer, or did you take whatever you
They
questioned?
couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it because we were talking about so many different subjects. That would have taken us down a completely different road, and we'd had to ask a whole set of different questions about that one.
So maybe
that
that's
one
why
inquiry.
because you haven't, like say for example, if you ask her a question and she said it's correct, did you settle at the answer, or did you take whatever question was related to and into action?
Couldn't do it because the Skype call wasn't about that. It was just something that had cropped up during the call, and I thought, I wonder.
Yeah,
is that-
because
yeah,
these
what I
things
mean?
just
Yeah.
fire up in your head.
Yeah.
But sometimes your questioning line just ends,
Sure.
just boom, like that.
They won't,
So
just won't tell
you
you.
won't go no further. And then until maybe another low time, maybe 4 or 5 months down the road, one night you might be able to think, I can actually ask another question. And it's like we drip fed the answers. It's like, I'll answer it, or won't answer it, one of those things, and it's like, please give us more. But we don't tend to get that, I mean, there are times when it's clearly advantageous times when communication can come flying through, and during that moment in time they could tell us 1,001 things, but they don't. You have to pry it from them. It's like, can you tell us a bit about that? Yes. Is that, you can tell us a bit about that? Or, you get cryptic answers, and it's like you've got to pry information from them. But when you do get that information, it's like all the other EVP sessions and ITC sessions throughout the world. They are very non-engaging comments, sometimes closed comments, very short, a yes, no, maybe, those sort of things. You don't get a conversation from them. They don't explain it like we would. I mean, if we want to explain something, we'd give it 9 or 10 words in a sentence to explain something. They'll only pick 1 or 2 words. It could be because they are reliant on energy to express that information, and it's only there for given lengths of time, so they're utilising what they can. And rather than use 9 words, they'll use 2 to explain the same thing.
Or maybe like a non-intervention kind of thing. You cannot tell too much.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem...
So you have to work it out yourself?
Yeah, it would seem that there has been recordings that we've obtained where it would seem Becky maybe having some type of, I don't know, I don't really want to use the word sitting, but a gathering of spirits on the other side which are associated or assisting the communication, like these strength in numbers, in a sense of speaking, to the point where on one particular occasion a recording was taken of not Becky but two spirits which were with her, which were apparently man and wife, and they were actually having an argument, because the woman said, "Oh, I used to look after children," and her husband replied, "No, you didn't. You used to sit on your bum all day," and it was a kind of a bit of a bit of a domestic going on between the pair of them, and they were apparently with Becky at that time, and this is what's coming through the recording.
This is what I said earlier. Life or life existence, shall we say, on the other side isn't all that different than it is here.
I don't believe it is. I mean, the latest EVP sessions that we got from, like I mentioned to you earlier today, Joe, is that we had a sealed off area, a bathroom in Seattle, and this was on the second time we went out there, and we had recorders running in there and video cameras running in there, and we got a clear, very loud vocal response. It said image detecting device, or image capturing device, and that's what it said. Just a word, three words that came over. Image capturing device. Well, what is that? That's a camera. Now, to me and you, we'd say camera. But they said image capturing device. Exactly. In the 1900s, you may have said image capturing device.
So which means spirits stuck in that, it's like another dimension.
Maybe that it's the terminologies associated to their time. But for us to obtain that as a recording, that's incredible. Because we're recording even a terminology from yesteryear.
What does it tell you? What this recording tells you exactly? What is it?
That recording tells us that whoever's saying it isn't from our current timeline. It's like they're from, they say the early 1900s, because that's a phrase you probably say in the early 1900s.
But does that infer that learning is not an ongoing process?
Well, I know it becomes a very debatable subject, but what's most interesting about this is that the project is continuing. We're trying to take one step further now into further experiments and trying to find out, we were trying to find answers. What are the pieces of the puzzle? Why are spirits communicating with us? What do they want from us? What's the ultimate plan? Is it something that is advantageous, and for whom?
Is it they or her, Becky?
Becky. It seems like, she says the spirits want, but it seems to be Becky's doing the delivering information.
Like a spokesman. But even Don doesn't know the answers, right?
Well, Don says that he does know some answers, but he can't tell us. It's as if there's a time and a place at that, for us to obtain further information, and we have not got that far yet.
Becky gave him that information.
It would seem Becky shared information with Don, and Don cannot tell us yet. So he seems to be more clued in as to what they want even than we do.
And that is extremely infuriating, because it is tying one hand behind our backs, because we just don't know.
Because you've been led maybe towards something, you don't know where you're going.
We don't know where we're going. All we know though, that there has been predestined stuff. When we wanted things, we've been told about it prior to it happening, and bang, there it happens. Even the American incident, and many other things. And people are drawn into the project for a reason, because they're utilised. Like Brian is utilised to the project, I am, and others. There's something going on, there's a master plan as to I don't know if this will lead to something incredible, and we can sit back and say, that's what it was. That's why we spent 5 years on something we didn't know we had a directive. Maybe, I don't know.
To give you an example,
this what Don knows and you don't.
Don contacted me. I knew Steve. I had contacted Steve prior to all this, but another matter altogether.
You continue. I need to go to the loo.
I had contacted Steve. Then I knew about Don. Don knew about Steve through me. So Don contacts Steve. Steve eventually gets drawn into it, and this is how it seems to have worked. It's like all pieces of a jigsaw getting plunked together.
Yeah, we've got pieces of a puzzle, and we're desperately trying to put it, because I think Becky wouldn't realise that. We would do we would try and help whatever we can do to try and obtain what the directive is, what is the ultimate answer at the end of it. We don't know, but we're still on that path. We're still on the path now after 2 years or even longer, and trying to find out the answers. Very, very, very slowly we're getting pieces of a puzzle. Hopefully one day we'll have the full picture. But at this moment in time, Phenomena Project is still going strong. It's the continuing studies from basically picking up where the skull experiments stop.
So do you do cases together?
Yeah.
Individually, or
we do investigations. we do investigations. It's documented and research. I go in there basically as pretty much a bit like a skeptic to begin with. I go in there to find rational explanations. So I'm looking for things where I can rationalise, But what I'm finding is I can't rationalise the stuff that's happening because it's happening very regularly, especially in the vicinity of Don Philips. He is quite unique in what he does. He is a form of ITC, which is instrumental transcommunication. And it's like, as he would say, with a smirk on his face if he was here now, it's his Becky phone.
His Becky phone.
His Becky phone. He doesn't go anywhere without it. And even to the point where he directs his own life by what Becky might say. For instance, should I go tonight?
Should I go? No, you won't.
I mean, if we got a phone call tonight and said, come to Las Vegas, we've got 3 investigations for you, everything's paid, 5-star hotel, we're going to pay you a load of money. First thing Don will do is ask Becky, shall I go? And if Becky turns around and says no, that's it.
Which one has the greatest will then?
I say Becky at this moment in time.
I think that the thing is that Don has had his life engineered around Becky, by Becky. She's done enough to convince him that she is trustworthy for him.
Mind you, at the same time though, in the short time I've known Don, 18 months, almost to 2 years, and the experiences I have of Becky, I haven't had any incidents with Becky would lead me to believe she's anything but what she said at this moment in time. So in that defense, but that's still not knowing. You still don't know at the end of the day what truly you are involved in, or truly who you are involved with. And what directive or ultimatums or anything that we might be faced with. We just don't know. So we are going into it a little bit blindly, and that's what makes it fascinating. Because when we go out on an investigation, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what we're going to experience. We don't know what we're going to see. We don't know what we're going to hear. We don't know what we're going to be told by spirits. But one thing with absolute certainty, we are always told something.
When? Before or when
at the time we're there? Always told something.
Another way the jigsaw drops into place.
So Becky's shown you some beautiful emotions that you're telling me now, and that was quite overwhelming. Do you ever feel fear from her?
No.
Or is it always nice?
It's at first. My first experience of Becky. She didn't hold back her punches. That it did bowl me over a little bit. The emotion, and it was something that it's very, very hard to explain. But it's like, you remember when as a child I was taken into a cathedral, and I was overwhelmed with this presence, I don't know if you want to call it a spiritual presence or whatever, but I was overwhelmed with it, It was just, imagine that tenfold and hitting you like that. It did bowl me over a little bit, to be honest with you. And I didn't know what to make of it, but it wasn't a bad feeling, but it was a unexpected emotion. I can only think that was delivered by Becky.
I'm going to suggest something else to you. There's something else in this that we haven't talked about. Steve, Don, me, okay? Each one of us has had experiences as a child. Very young children, all our lives, have had little grapes thrown to us. We've seen things, experienced things. So each one of us has that in common, that we've all experienced, and I'm using inverted commas here, spirit or something, since a very early age, almost as if we've been pre-programmed for it.
Prepped for this.
Been prepped for it all our lives, and we've been brought together to produce it all the little bits of the jigsaw getting brought together to make the whole. And because all of us have had these experiences since small children, all our lives. So it's nothing new to us. I'm not saying it's not alarming, because I think I told you one event that happened in my house where I was frozen rigid with fear. I couldn't move with fear. I was petrified of what had happened because I knew that it had happened and I had caused it. My own stupidity had caused it. And I had to, my wife wouldn't put the lights on because of what we might see. I was frozen with fear, I couldn't move. And we just lay there for half an hour till all this stopped. And then when my wife went to work the following day, I cleansed the house. Every single room there, I cleansed it. And it hasn't come back. Thank God it hasn't come back. But
So when divers come up, they have to go in a little chamber and so get the nitrogen in. So you can't go into a little quarantine area with some mystics that can just check you before
There
you
might-
go back
yes,
home. So you don't take
I'll bet
anything
you
with
could. I'll bet you probably could.
Yeah, probably,
Yeah, you
maybe.
probably could.
Probably.
A despiritualization chamber.
Maybe.
Oh, that's a nice idea.
That's something to consider.
Good idea. This is Jerry's idea. Nobody can steal
I
it.
wouldn't like to sort of go along to something.
I named
and
it.
then- And then
Yeah.
something kind of attaches itself and take it back home. There's my little
Well,
boy.
you know, yeah.
You're supposed to be able to do it. You should do this before you get into these situations. You should put protection around yourself. There's various ways of doing it. I personally think it's about belief.
It is. If
It's about
you're,
belief.
you're wasting your time if you don't believe in it. If you're just doing it because, hey, I'm actually a bit scared and I don't want this to happen, so I better do it, it's not going to be worth doing it. It's something that
You have to
devoutly
believe it's gonna happen.
that, yes, this is protection.
Is it? I was thinking perhaps you go to a well-known clairvoyant that you recommend, and you say, you pop in through the shop door. Listen, I need a guide for Saturday and Sunday. Should you give me one just to kind of show me the ropes because I'm new to this? So that's
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we can open a spirit guide agency.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh yeah, employment agency.
you could assign me somebody.
Okay, that's an idea.
You're not too far
Went to
off the mark there because if
Escort.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
like a special
Spiritual escort.
Yeah.
we all have a spirit guide anyway. If you want to talk about guardian angels and stuff, but whether that is just a fiction invented by the church, I have no idea. But we all apparently have a soul, which is given to us. We don't. What is given to us is actually assigned to us. The soul is not ours. It is given to us, and it's taken back again when we die. Apparently, if this is to be believed. And we're all assigned a spirit or an entity or a being, an angel, call it what you like, that's supposed to look after us and stay with us from the instant we're conceived till the moment we die and we pass on to the other side. Who knows if that's true or not?
We don't know.
It's
We
all
don't
part of the
know.
bigger
Yeah.
picture.
Theoretical
But,
science.
How much of this is invention? How much of it is founded on fact's the wrong way of putting it, but
Yeah.
how much of it is founded on belief, on faith? Does belief and faith produce these beings? Are you
Exactly,
you able to affect
We could be
reality
part of the
by believing in it, by willing it to happen?
Has
It's all part of the bigger picture.
any clairvoyants that you've met that haven't known each other said to you directly, listen, you have
Not
X with you"?
personally to me. I'll give you an example. When we were in Seattle, where I went to see a lady called Jenny with a partner who had done a previous investigation at the Seattle home prior to us being involved, and she was apparently had mediumistic skills. I think I've mentioned this to
Yeah,
you.
you have done, yeah.
It was very profound. I went in there to this kind of cafe and I met her, and she was a lovely, lovely woman. And Don strolled in maybe a couple of minutes after me, and she suddenly clamped, she just lifted her head and clamped eyes, bang, on Don. That was it. As soon as she clamped eyes on Don, the tears came. She started crying, she started shaking, and she was just absolutely taken back. And I'm trying to figure out what's happening here. All she's done is look over at Don. Don comes up, and just grabs her hand, and says everything's okay. And she's looking at me across the table. I'm sat opposite them. I'm thinking, what's going on here? They don't know each other, and they never met each other. And I'm looking at this woman, this Jenny, and she's shaking, she's crying, and she turns, she looks at Don and she says, Becky. Don just smiles and goes, yeah. And I'm thinking, am I missing out on this major conversation here? What's going on?
The unspoken stuff, what's happening here,
Unspoken stuff.
Yeah,
It would seem, I don't know that she was bowled over by something. I don't know, by Don's presence or instantly realising when Don walked through the door, Becky followed him right behind in tow. I don't know what she was seeing or what she was experiencing, but it knocked her for 10. And I was there to witness that firsthand, and I still have no idea what was going on, what was all that about that day. I never probably will, but it's absolutely...
These things are beyond the chances of coincidence, aren't they?
No, absolutely.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
there are no coincidences. We've already realised that. There are no coincidences. It would seem that your life, and I've said this to you in the early days when we got involved in certain projects, everything is meant to happen. and and it's about that positiveness that things are going to happen. Get up tomorrow and be a different person.
It's gone, by the way.
And that's
Alan
it.
needing to go?
No.
Sorry.
Whoever was here is gone.
It's much calmer.
It's gone again. Whoever was here is gone again.
Oh, I see the spirit.
But it's a fascinating. We can
Oh,
discuss.
it's warmer now.
We can discuss the paranormal all night regarding things. But one thing is that Phenomena Project is continuing. We've got other cases, and of course, I hope Jerry will come along and maybe experience some of the profound things that we've experienced. It opens up a whole new world. It really does. But it is fascinating. But it is continuing, and it's a matter of just watch this space really, see where it's going to take.
I find myself wanting to bring along microphone recording gear as opposed to initially wanting to bring the camera. Now I'm thinking Alex can carry that.
Heavy camera.
The mic.
Alex is going to go, guys, come on, I want to go home. Stop filming.
I know.
He's asleep.
What's really good is that it doesn't matter what what cameras are utilised, it all seems to capture audible phenomena, and they are incredible. So I want to thanks guys for a really interesting talk. Phenomena Project, check it out, follow it on their website, and there's plenty more interesting things to come.
Absolutely.
And I'm allowed to be scruffy because I'm
Because he's the camera crew. I was just curious.
Well, if the camera,
Yeah.
if he's sleeping, you're allowed to be scruffy, believe me.
And we have Alan and Alex there, the whole crew. Thank you so much.
you.
Brian Allen here and Stephen Mera.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
watching.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be back.
probably has another strawberry milkshake in there.
Watch this space.
Watch the space. We have more questions to ask.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Okay,
I don't
everybody.
know how long that ran for.
Wow.
Well, that was good.
1 hour and 20 minutes.
I hope.
Wow.